Benjamin Bande, and good morning, everyone. Good evening for everyone in the West Hemisphere. Welcome to our Abhidhamma class, lesson 18. I'm the co-host today, Janice Sham. I'm Head Bande and everybody in today's section. May we invite Bande to start the teaching, please? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Welcome to Abhidhamma class 18, lesson 18. Let's start our Abhidhamma study for today's lesson by paying homage Buddha, reciting the Namo Tassa 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to summarize the Chitta chapter. We have studied already 18 lessons, already 17 lessons about the Abhidhamma. In this lesson 18, we are going to summarize the chapter 1 of Abhidhamma Sangha. Before we summarize and we finalize, we need to review the consciousness we have studied in this Abhidhamma course. Here, just trying to review the table we have already mentioned in lesson 4. In this table, you can see the 89 consciousness. So first of all, we can classify 89 consciousness into 2 groups. First one is Lokiya Chitta, so mundane consciousness. Altogether, there are 81 mundane consciousness. As you know, the Lokiya related to the Loka. Loka is the world. And the consciousness that lead to the cycle of rebirth and also arise in the cycle of rebirth, that is called the Lokiya and mundane consciousness in English. Then the other 8 consciousness are called the Lokuttara, supramundane consciousness. They taking Nibbana as their objects. They transcend the world. So Lokuttara. And these are Mega and Phala. So as long as the individual could not attain the enlightenment, the Mega and Phala will not arise in the process. So when the individual could attain the enlightenment, taking Nibbana as it is the consciousness object, at that moment, the Mega and Phala arise. So the 2 groups, Lokiya and Lokuttara. And the Lokiya consciousness also can divide it into 2 again. So Mahagata, sublime or exalted, is the sublime consciousness. Then the sense sphere consciousness. So normally the sense sphere consciousness arises in the mind for the individual's mind. Then if the individual practice concentration meditation or samatha meditation, according to the level of concentration, that individual attain the jhana. These jhanas are called mahagata chitta, or sublime consciousness. So in order to arise the mahagata consciousness, the jhana consciousness, it needs the practice. Without the practice, it cannot arise. So in normal living, the kamavachara chitta arise. So due to the practice, mahagata consciousness can arise. So mahagata consciousness also can divide it into two, the rupavachara and arupavachara. So 5 material sphere and immaterial sphere, altogether 27. These 27 are called the jhana chitta or mahagata chitta. In normal living, the kamavachara chitta, sense sphere consciousness, arise in the mental process. So the kamavachara chitta also divided into 3, akusala and ahituka kamavachara sopana. So if the mental process is rooted in greed, hatred, or delusion, that kind of consciousness is called unwholesome. It's called the akusala chitta in Pali. According to the root, the akusala chitta also divided into 3, lava mula, greed rooted, dosa mula, hatred rooted, and moha mula, delusion rooted. Because these 3 are the root of unwholesome, the consciousness rooted in that, and these roots also called the unwholesome. Then some kinds of consciousness has no roots, no accompanying roots. Here, roots mean the accompanying roots. When the consciousness arises, the mental fetters accompany to that consciousness. Among these mental fetters, there is no mental fetters which can call the roots, because there are only 6 roots. Devoid of the roots in the accompanying mental fetters, the consciousness is called ahituka, rootless consciousness. There are 18 rootless consciousness. And some consciousness rooted in the beautiful mental fetters, so they call the opposite of the unwholesome roots, non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. But still they are arising in sense sphere realms mostly. They are called the kamavachara sopana, so sense sphere beautiful consciousness, because they are rooted in the beautiful mental fetter of roots. That's why their consciousness are also recognized as beautiful. So the kamavachara sopana chitta can be divided into 3, kusala, wholesome, the vipaka, which is produced by the wholesome, and kriya, functional. So we already discussed about the difference between kusala and kriya. So in this way, the consciousness are counted in 89 in number. In the other way, we can classify the consciousness, the beautiful and non-beautiful, not beautiful. So not beautiful consciousness, akusala, unwholesome consciousness, due to they are rooted in unwholesome mental fetters of roots. That's why they are recognized as asobana, not beautiful consciousness. And also the second group of ahituka, rootless consciousness, because they don't have roots, they are like a floating plants, so not stable. That's why they are also not beautiful. So not beautiful consciousness are 30 in number. And the rest of the consciousness, including Lokuttara Chitta, are recognized as beautiful. So 59 in short and 91 in large. Okay, so the consciousness are 89. But if we extend the consciousness, Lokuttara consciousness, multiplied by 5 material pure jhana, they are called the 40 Lokuttara Chitta in large. So that's why the consciousness also will become the 121. Okay, this slide is the what we have studied in lesson 4. We just need to review. I think you already remember the classification. Okay, so the second slide we need to review is the unwholesome consciousness. So this unwholesome consciousness, as we have said in the former lesson, the Abhidhamma is not only theoretical enumeration. It can apply in the daily life, and also it can find the essence of Abhidhamma teaching, and also the ultimate reality of Abhidhamma teaching arising in our daily life. So here, how unwholesome consciousness are arising in the mind. This is just giving the example. So the feeling, and with round view or without round view, like this. And also, is there anything encouraging to arise? So here, the example are given. If a boy steals an apple with joyful feeling, that is called the somanasa. Then holding the view that there is no evil in stealing, that is wrong view, because that is not correct. And also the spontaneously, so no need encouragement is. So this type of consciousness is called past consciousness of unwholesome, 12 unwholesome, is rooted in the lobha. So lobha mula, so accompanied by joy. So there is somanasa sahagata, and associated with wrong view, there's dedikata samyutta and asankharika. So no need any, it does not need any encouragement, so arise automatically. That is called the first types of unwholesome consciousness. In this way, we have learned how 12 unwholesome consciousness can arise in our mental process in daily life. So this is the application into daily life. Then let's continue, because you know the Chitta chapter deal with the enumeration of the consciousness, dividing into different groups and dividing into different class to point out the specific consciousness. So we will focus on the enumeration facts. Then we will discuss about the nature. So here, akusala consciousness, unwholesome consciousness twice. In the table, you can see the three divisions. So, Lava Mula, Dosa Mula, and Moha Mula, rooted in greed, rooted in hatred, and rooted in delusion. Then the system of classification or division come with the three aspects. So here, Sahagata and Sampayutta or Viputta, Asankharika or Sasankharika. Here, Sahagata, when the consciousness arises, there will be accompanying feeling. Maybe it can be soreness, joy, or equanimity, or something else. But there must be feeling to accompany the consciousness, because feelings is the manifesto which always accompany the consciousness. So whenever consciousness arises, the feeling accompany. So it can be variable according to the condition of, according to the cause. So here, there is no absence of the feeling. So when the joyful feeling accompany to the consciousness, that is called the somanasa. Somanasa sahagata chitta. So in the unwholesome, 12 unwholesome consciousness, we can find some consciousness are accompanied by joy. Some consciousness are accompanied by equanimity. And some consciousness accompanied by displeasure feeling. So in this way, firstly, we recognize consciousness by accompanying feeling, accompanying manifestos of feeling. Then in this way, we can identify in some instance, but still we need to classify. So we find out, is there any difference between, according to the association of view? If the consciousness is associated with round view, that is recognized as Detigata Samyutta, and it is not associated with round view, it is dissociated from round view. So we recognize as Detigata Vipayutta. So Detigata Samyutta and Detigata Vipayutta. In this way, even though the consciousness has the same accompanying manifesta of feeling, they can be divided into a different group according to the associated manifestas of view, round view, with or without. Then still they have the same condition, the same expression. If we are seeing from the feeling and association of round view, still they can be the same. Then we can classify them according to asankharika or sasankharika, so unprompt or prompt. In this way, we get the specific consciousness to identify as the unwholesome consciousness. So if rooted in the lobha or greed, we call the lobha mula. Then from the time on, we try to find out the exact consciousness. So here we already studied the 4 somanasa sahagata and 4 upekha sahagata. Among them also 4 detigata samyutta in 2 groups and 4 the detigata vipayutta in 2 groups. Then here also asankharika and sasankharika, they alternatively come. So they also can be grouped in 4 asankharika and 4 sasankharika. This is the way how we can easily remember the lobha mula chitta. Then continue to the dosa mula chitta, so the consciousness rooted in the hatred root. So here they share the same feeling of displeasure. Then also they associate that with abortion. So still we cannot identify two, one after another. Then we can identify by way of prompting. So unprompt, the other is prompt. Then in this way, there are two types of Mahamula consciousness and Dosa Mula consciousness, and there are two types of Mahamula consciousness. Also, they share their feeling of equanimity, but they are different in the association. So one is associated with doubt, Vichikicha Samyutta, and the other is associated with restlessness. It's called the Uddhacca, so Uddhacca Samyutta. But they are not recognized, they are not classified according to the prompting, because this is under the strong delusion. So we call that Sankhara Vimutta. So out of the enumeration of the Sankhara. And this is the unwholesome consciousness. How we can classify unwholesome consciousness in this way. And also we can keep the classification according to the different way. So according to feeling, according to the associated with wrong view or dissociated from wrong view, and prompt or unprompt. So we can keep in mind, because we need to combine with the other group of classification. If we say for the next group, we will study about the 18 rootless consciousness, and we will find how many consciousness in 18 rootless consciousness, how many consciousness are accompanied by joyful feeling, accompanied by joy, somanasa sagata. So we will count them together. Then later, in the second chapter of Abhidhamma Sangha, the Cetasika chapter, there we need to know how many consciousness are accompanied by joy and how many consciousness are accompanied by equanimity, to make easy in the study of the combination of consciousness and mental factors. And if we can keep this classification into our mind, and that will be easier, quite easier. And also by counting in the table again and again, by counting, you can remember and you understand how many consciousness come in this feeling or like this. Okay, so for the next slide, so rootless consciousness, ahituka. So we already studied this ahituka, why they are called ahituka, and how they are classified. And they are divided into three, and two groups are called the resultants. So vipaka, two groups are vipaka, and one group is functional, that is not wholesome, not unwholesome, and also not resultant of the wholesome, unwholesome karma, that is just the functional. So there are three consciousness, ahituka, kiriya, chitta. So two groups in resultants and one group functional. In this way, we already studied the rootless consciousness. Then there are rootless resultant consciousness 15 and rootless functional 3. So in the previous group, only unwholesome types, and here more category, so resultants and functional comes. Then if we put in the table, we can see the accompanying mental factors of feeling. So here in two groups, unwholesome resultant and wholesome resultants. All are resultant consciousness. The first group is produced by the unwholesome consciousness, unwholesome karma. The second group is produced by the wholesome karma. So in the classification of consciousness, we can see many of the consciousness are accompanied by equanimity. So here we can select out the consciousness, the body consciousness of unwholesome resultants. That is accompanied by pain. And also the body consciousness of wholesome resultants is accompanied by pleasure. And we get two body consciousness. One is accompanied by pain, the other is accompanied by pleasure. And also we can find the, this should be the Somanasa Sahagata here Santirana consciousness. The Santirana investigating consciousness, when it is produced by the unwholesome, so unwholesome resultants, the only one types, they accompanied by equanimity. But the investigating consciousness in wholesome resultant consciousness becomes two. So here, one is accompanied by joy and the other is same as the previous group, accompanied by equanimity. So in 15 resultant consciousness, we can find, and the 3 are not accompanied by equanimity. So the other 12 consciousness, are accompanied by equanimity. So according to the accompanying feeling, we can understand in this way. Then this column shows the types of the consciousness. According to the type, you can count the unconsciousness 2. One is produced by unwholesome karma. The other is produced by wholesome karma. So in this way, counting in the pairs, so eye consciousness 2, ear consciousness 2, nose consciousness 2, tongue consciousness 2, body consciousness 2. In this way, they are 5-4, 2 sets. So 2 sets of 5-4 sense consciousness related to the things: eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. So in this way, we count 10 consciousness as Dvipancha Vijnana. So 2 sets of 5-4 sense consciousness. Then here, Sampadisana receiving consciousness, also 2 in both sides. So 2 receiving consciousness and 3 investigating consciousness. So in this way, we can classify the 15 resultant consciousness in rootless consciousness, rootless group. So 12 accompanied by equanimity, and 2 accompanied, 1 accompanied by pain, 1 accompanied by pleasure, and the other one accompanied by joy. This is the 2 groups of the rootless consciousness. Then the 3rd group, Ahetuka Kriya, the rootless functional consciousness. Among the 3 rootless functional consciousness, 2 are accompanied by equanimity. So together with the 12 in 2 groups. So there are 14 rootless consciousness accompanied by equanimity. So Upekha Sahagata 14. And here one more consciousness accompanied by joy. So altogether 2 consciousness, 2 rootless consciousness accompanied by joy. So 14, 2, and 1 is accompanied by pain, and 1 is accompanied by pleasure. In this way, there are 18 rootless consciousness. Here, the rootless functional consciousness also can be divided into two share the advertence. So one is advertent in 5 sense door, and the other is advertent in mind door. But still, they are in the same function. So advertent, so they are count in the advertent consciousness 2, awajana 2, and the last one is hasitopada, spine producing consciousness. So here, how we can and remember, in other way, remember their rootless consciousness. So among the 15, then Tripanjavinyana 10, Sampadichana 2, Sandirana 3, and Awajana 2, and Hasitubara 1. In this way, you can remember, and there are 18 rootless consciousness. Then, according to the feeling, here you see the Sukha Sahagata, this is a pleasure, Dukkha Sahagata, pain, Somnasa Sahagata, joy, Ubekha Sahagata, the equanimity. Altogether, 18 can be divided in this way. Then, so let's review the consciousness. And the other consciousness also, we can count one after another as sense sphere beautiful consciousness, and 5 material sphere consciousness, immaterial sphere consciousness, and supramundane consciousness. So here we will continue the consciousness enumerated by way of its nature, the jati. So according to the classification by way of its nature, jati, the consciousness can be divided into 4 classes. So one is unwholesome group, wholesome group, resultant group, functional group. And you may remember that wholesome and unwholesome have the karmic nature, the karmic potential. So then they produce the resultants. For functional, it does not produce. In this way, so unwholesome 12, altogether wholesome 21, and resultant 36, and functional 20. So we have studied this in lesson 4. You can check. So here, starting from the sense sphere wholesome sense sphere consciousness, we can find the wholesome. So in 2 groups of unwholesome consciousness and rootless consciousness, we cannot find the wholesome. So starting from the sense sphere beautiful consciousness, we can find out the wholesome. So there in sense sphere consciousness, there are 8 wholesome. And if we continue 5 material sphere consciousness, there are 5 consciousness are wholesome. And immaterial sphere consciousness, and 4. And supramundane wholesome consciousness, that is called the mega. So altogether 21. And resultants, here the resultant will be different. So the sense sphere resultants, because we just learned that there are 15 consciousness, 15 resultant consciousness in rootless group. So the 15 consciousness and the sense sphere beautiful resultant 8 together, the sense sphere resultants, they are called the sense sphere resultant because all of them are in the sense sphere consciousness. So 23, there are 23 sense sphere resultant consciousness. This is the difference. So the number also different in the resultant consciousness become the 36. But still here, supramundane resultants, that is called the phala consciousness. And the functionalness, or here, this will be the kriya. So the functional consciousness, kriya chitta. And there, in rootless consciousness, only 3 functional consciousness. And together with the sense sphere functional consciousness, it becomes the 11 sense sphere functional consciousness. Then the same number, the 5 material sphere and immaterial sphere, but there's no functional consciousness in supramundane consciousness. So that by the absence of that four, there are altogether 20 functional consciousness. So okay, in order to see clear, so according to the class of consciousness, here you see the first one, unwholesome group, second one, rootless group, and the third one, sense-pure beautiful group, the fourth one, five material sphere group, the fifth one, immaterial sphere group, and the last one, supramundane group. Okay, let's see this classification. I already studied about the unwholesome consciousness and three division, and three class in the rootless consciousness already finished. Then in the Kama Vachara Sobhana, sense-pure beautiful consciousness, here 8 are wholesome, and 8 are resultant, and 8 are functional. So in this way, 3 groups become 24. Then in the same way, the 5 material sphere, immaterial sphere, they also have the 3 division of wholesome, resultant, and functional. But here in Lokuttara Citta, only 2 groups of wholesome and functional, wholesome and resultant. There is no functional consciousness in supramundane level of consciousness. So from this classification, if we select out according to the nature, the same nature, we can get only 12 unwholesome consciousness can be found only in the sense-pure group. So here you see the Kama Vachara Citta 54, sense-pure consciousness. So altogether, 3 groups, 54 consciousness, but divided into 3 groups. But there, if we select out unwholesome consciousness are 12, but there's no unwholesome consciousness in Mahagata consciousness and Lokuttara. So only in sense-pure group, sense-pure consciousness, we can find the unwholesome. So unwholesome consciousness are only 12. There's no more unwholesome consciousness. Then for the wholesome group, so for the wholesome group, we see the wholesome here, wholesome in the sense-pure beautiful groups, only 8. Among the 54 sense-pure consciousness, we can find only 8 consciousness as wholesome. Then, if we search in the 5 material sphere, we get only 5. And together with the immaterial sphere, 4. So altogether 9 in the Mahagata group. So 9 wholesome. So we can say in 2 groups collectively, they are mundane because they are under the classification of mundane Lokiya. So Lokiya Kusala, or the mundane wholesome consciousness, we can say there are 17 mundane wholesome consciousness, or Lokiya Citta, Lokiya Kusala Citta, only 17. Together with the Lokuttara wholesome, Lokuttara Kusala, so supramundane wholesome 4, it becomes the 21 wholesome consciousness. In this way, in the table, each table mentioned about the different class of consciousness you can select off. So wholesome. But in 89 consciousness now, we can find only 21 wholesome consciousness. 17 are mundane wholesome, and 4 are supramundane wholesome. But here you see the 4 and 20. So if 4 multiplied by the 5 jhana, it becomes the 20 mega, that is enlarged. So for some practitioner, if they practice based on the jhana of taking the reality of the reality arising at the moment of jhana as it is object, and when they attain the enlightenment, their mega and phala associated with the jhana fetters, and also the consciousness also can be recognized as the jhana. So it can be different, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and fifth jhana. So in the way of the classification with jhana, the Lokuttara Kusala or supramundane wholesome consciousness become 20. That is the way of enumeration in 121 consciousness enlarged. So if we focus on the 89 consciousness, there are only 21 wholesome consciousness, but it will be 37 in 121. Okay, anyhow, here we can calculate, we can enumerate the wholesome consciousness in this way. Then let's see how many resultant consciousness. So here, resultant consciousness, there's no resultant in unwholesome. And in second group of rootless consciousness, there are 15 resultant consciousness. And together with the resultant consciousness of sense pure beautiful, it becomes the 23. So 23, the sense pure resultant consciousness, we can see that in this way. So here, the kama vachara vipaka. So together with the kama vachara and vipaka here. So the sense pure resultant consciousness 23. So we need to practice again and again in order to remember the types of the consciousness in each group. So here, according to the classification of nature, jati, so we will find in this way. So the resultant consciousness are 23 in sense pure group. Then same of the wholesome in two groups. So 5 material sphere and immaterial sphere altogether 9 mahagata vipaka. So here mahagata vipaka and sublime resultant consciousness 9. Then so if we combine with the sense sphere, it becomes the 32. So lokiya vipaka. So under the lokiya group, we can find the resultant vipaka citta. So they are 32. Together with the supramundane vipaka 4, that will be 36. Here, the 36 consciousness are resultant types among the 89. But if we enlarge the supramundane resultant consciousness into 20, it becomes the 52 resultant consciousness in 121 consciousness. Then for the functional consciousness, so there are 11 functional consciousness in kama vachara sense pure consciousness. Then together with 9 mahagata kriya, so there is sublime functional. So it becomes the 20 because there is no functional consciousness in Lokuttara. So this is the way how we can classify the 89 consciousness and 121 consciousness into different class according to their nature: unwholesome, wholesome, resultant, functional. And also you can see according to the area of the sense sphere how many. If we enlarge, how many in mahagata, how many together, so lokiya, and how many lokuttara. Then how many consciousness of unwholesome, wholesome, resultant, functional in 89 or 121. if you can practice in this way, the consciousness will be clear. The types of consciousness will be clearer than before. So, okay, let's see for the second way. This is, in this table, we will study how to enumerate the consciousness according to by way of feeling, accompanying feeling. So here, the same expression here, cis group. Then here, according to the different different class of feeling. Then, so here among the 89 consciousness, you can only find out only one consciousness, Sukha Sahagata, in the rootless consciousness. So Sukha Sahagata 1. And Dukkha Sahagata 1. Here, Dukkha Sahagata. Here, only these two. These two of the body consciousness are the Sukha Sahagata and Dukkha Sahagata. So accompanied by pleasure and accompanied by pain. Then the others are here two in Akusala Chitta, Akusala group. There are two consciousness accompanied by a dominasa. So there is the displeasure, the feeling of displeasure. So two. Then there are there are four somanasa in unwholesome, we already know. Then only two in rootless group. But in the starting from the Kamavachara Sovana, since we are beautiful, the others here, division quite easier. So the 24 consciousness divided into two, half is Somanasa and half is Upekha. But in the five material sphere, according to the jhana, you may remember that according to the jhana, that each of the jhana has the three in number. So wholesome 1, resultant 1, functional 1. In this way, first jhana 3, second jhana 3, third jhana 3, fourth jhana 3, and the fifth jhana 3. So only the fifth jhana consciousness are accompanied by equanimity, upekha. So only 3 are upekha among the 15 five material sphere consciousness. So the rest 12 are somanasa sahagata. So in this way, 12 somanasa and 3 upekha. Then all types of immaterial sphere consciousness are accompanied by equanimity because they have the same jhana fetters as the fifth jhana. So same as the fifth jhana. In this way, the upekha, all are upekha. And for the Lokuttara Chitta, if we count only 8, it's not easy to identify because the only 8, we can assume that these only, if we count only 8 supramundane, they are accompanied by their somanasa sahagata because they are same as the past jhana fetters. And if we count in 40 Lokuttara, so Mega 20 and Phala 20, in this, at that time we can classify according to the jhana. So each jhana share the 8 Lokuttara Chitta. So each of the jhana has the 8 in number. It's similar to the 5 material sphere, only the 5th jhana accompanied by equanimity. So only the 5th jhana 8 equanimity, and the rest 4 jhana accompanied by joy. That's why each of them has the 8 become the 32. So in this way, if we count Lokuttara Chitta in large 40, it's become 32 as Somanasa and Upekha 8. So by selecting out from the table, we get this number of enumeration according to the feeling. So here, 1 Sukha Sahagata, 1 Dukkha Sahagata, and 62 Somanasa Sahagata, and 2 dominasa sahagata. Only 2 dominasa sahagata in unwholesome group. And how many upekha? So here upekha sahagata 55, 6 in unwholesome and 14 in rootless, altogether 20, and 12 in the sense pure beautiful group. Then here 32. Then 3 in 5 materials pure, and here 35. And also together with the Lokuttara, it becomes 20. Altogether, there are 55 consciousness accompanied by equanimity. In this way, we can count the somanasa also 62. So 62 consciousness are accompanied by joint. So here 62 consciousness accompanied by joint, and 4 in unwholesome, 2 in the rootless, and 12 in the sense sphere beautiful, and 12 in the 5 material sphere, and the supramundane enlarged supramundane consciousness, the 32 consciousness. So somanasa sahagata 62. So if we count all, they becomes the 121 consciousness. So this is the way how we can count the consciousness. We can enumerate consciousness according to the feeling, accompanying feeling. So this classification also very useful. If you consider, for example, in the second chapter, we will study how the consciousness and mental factor arise together, and also how many consciousness can be accompanied by the rapture. Is called the piti. So in this case, the piti never accompanied by the consciousness of the equanimity. So if the consciousness is accompanied by equanimity, there's no piti, there's no rapture. In that case, if we want to know how many consciousness are accompanied by the piti, the mental factors of piti, rapture, so we need to know how many consciousness are accompanied by equanimity, so to make the exclusion. And also dominasa sagara in this way. So piti does not come with the 2 types of feeling here, dominasa sagara, upekha sagara, in this way. So this classification is very useful, so very important. Don't forget to make them to keep in mind in your mind, so that it is to be easier in the second chapter. Otherwise, if you forget everything from the first chapter, the information from the first chapter, the second chapter will not be quite easy. It's quite difficult. You know. So here, okay, let's see the slide in lesson 4. Here, this slide talk about the 6 roots, 6 types of roots, the chahetu, loba, dosa, moha, aloba, adosa, amoha. So according to the accompanying mental pattern or roots, the consciousness also can be divided into different types. But some consciousness are rootless, there's no root, and some consciousness with roots. Then among the consciousness with roots, some consciousness has 1 root, some consciousness has 2 roots, some consciousness has 3 roots. According to the accompanying roots, we can name them one single rooted or 1 rooted, and double rooted 2 roots, and triple rooted 3 roots. So ekahetuka, dvihetuka, dihetuka, the consciousness. So consciousness will be different. Then let's see how the 89 or 121 consciousness are classified by way of root. So here you see the 18 consciousness has no root. But here, among the unwholesome consciousness, 2 consciousness, so moha mula, are single rooted. So only 2 consciousness you can find. Then the other lobha mula 8 and dosa mula 2, altogether 10 consciousness are double rooted. We already discussed them. And so here 10 double rooted consciousness. And so in number 3 of the sense sphere beautiful group, we can find 12 consciousness are double rooted and 12 consciousness are triple rooted. So depends on the types of the consciousness with the jnana sampayutta and jnana vipayutta. If the consciousness is associated with jnana, so the jnana is the root of non-delusion, that is amoha hetu, same as amoha hetu. So the consciousness associated with knowledge are triple rooted. And the consciousness dissociated from knowledge by the absence of the root of non-delusion, it becomes the double rooted, only 2. So in this way, 12 double rooted and 12 triple rooted. Then all 5 material sphere, immaterial sphere, and supramundane altogether 35. So you may remember the 2 groups together, Mahagata and Lokuttara. So Mahagata 27 and 8 Lokuttara. We can collectively call the Mahagata Lokuttara 35 consciousness. All of them are attained by the practice with the knowledge. So they all are triple rooted. In this way, we can count. If we select off, we can find there are 47 triple rooted consciousness in 2 groups, 12 in the sense sphere beautiful and 35 in the Mahagata Lokuttara. So there are 47 triple rooted consciousness. And there are 22 double rooted consciousness in 2 groups, 10 in unwholesome and 12 in sense sphere beautiful, so which is dissociated from knowledge. So altogether 22. Then 2 consciousness of the rooted in delusion, moha mula consciousness, are single rooted. And rootless consciousness, 18. So this is the way how we can remember, we can classify and try to remember the consciousness, the classification of consciousness by way of root. Okay, so here the classification of consciousness by way of roots related to the classification of jnana sampayutta and jnana vipayutta. So there's no difference in the not beautiful consciousness 2 group. Yes, the difference made by this classification, jnana sampayutta and jnana vipayutta. Here only 12 consciousness you can find out the jnana vipayutta, dissociated from knowledge. And the others 47 of the beautiful are associated with knowledge, jnana sampayutta. So all jnana sampayutta are regarded as the tihetuka citta and triple rooted consciousness in English. This will have you to remember what are the triple rooted consciousness, the classification of jnana sampayutta and jnana vipayutta. So in this way, we need to study the consciousness to make clear in our mind. If you close your eye and you consider, and then the classification will appear in your mind. So in our traditional study, this type of, this subject of Abhidhamma study we make in nighttime. So we switch off the light and we reflect on the groove of the reality, what we have studied in daytime, and we try to answer the teacher's question to exercise how we remember. Then later, after practicing for some times, we remember all by heart. And that is very helpful in the Abhidhamma, advanced level of Abhidhamma study. Okay, so for the final slide of this lesson, I would like to review the individual. So we already reviewed this slide again and again. So there are 12 individuals, Puthujjana, 8 noble persons. So 8 noble persons can be divided into 2, Sikha, who is on the way of training, so trainees, and Asikha, who already reached the final destination. So by the attainment of the Abhidhamma and Abhidhamma, he became Asikha, no more training. He does not need to train for 3 types of trainings, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, because he already reached the final stage, accomplished. Then, regarding the 4 ordinary person or worldling person, here the dependence on the root. So Tugati, Ahituka, Sugati, Ahituka, 2 types of individual are rootless, rootless individual. But one is born in the woeful state and the other is born in the blissful state. So here blissful state refers to the human realms and the lowest Deva realms or Chatumaharajika, only 2 realms. Then Duheduka, double roots. So this can be found in the human realms and 6 Deva realms. Okay, then the Tihetuka, this person is, very important. He can attain the enlightenment. So after the attainment of enlightenment, he is no more Tihetuka Puthujjana. So he became the Sotapatti Megatana at the moment of the path consciousness. Then after the path consciousness, the fruition consciousness follow. From that time on, he becomes the Sotapatti Phalatana. Then, in this way, by the attainment of path and fruition, one after another, he can becomes Arahat by the attainment of the fruition consciousness of the Arahat. So in this way, at the beginning, everybody, starting from the stage of the Puthujjana, the worldling person, individual level. And so the ordinary person, then due to the practice, he becomes the noble person. Without the practice of Vipassana meditation, he will not become the noble person. He will keep going as the Puthujjana as long as he does not attain the Mega and Phala. But in this case, he can practice the jhana to attain the 5 material sphere jhana and immaterial sphere jhana. If he is Tihetuka Puthujjana and triple rooted individual, he can attain, he has right to attain the jhana. So at that time, when the Tihetuka Puthujjana practice the jhana and attain the jhana, that is the wholesome jhana, wholesome consciousness, 5 material sphere or immaterial sphere. And also, if he practice the concentration meditation after the attainment of the Sammaka and Phala, after the 7, so after the 6, not 7, so after the 6th Anagami Phalatthana. So he attained the jhana still at that moment. That is called the wholesome jhana or wholesome consciousness of 5 material sphere or immaterial sphere. But after the attainment of Arahata Magga and Arahata Phala, so he became the Arahat. In the process of Arahat's mind, there only the functional consciousness arises, not wholesome consciousness. So after the attainment of Arahata Magga and Phala, if he practiced the concentration meditation and attained the jhana, that is called the functional consciousness of 5 material sphere or immaterial sphere. So that types of jhana are called functional kriya jhana, so functional absorption. Based on the classification of individual, we can extend many information, extend for so many information. So you need to review this table again and again and apply by different way. Then also the table of the Okasa Loga, the 31 plane of existence, you can review, and by observing the table, and you can apply what you remember in our study. Then that will make you to remember a long time. Okay, so we already reviewed the consciousness and the classification in different ways. So I think this is quite enough for the beginner level of study for the first chapter. And if we continue our study for the next chapter, that also will have you for more understanding of about the first chapter. Okay, I'm going to stop here my teaching, and we will continue to Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pandey, for your summary today. May Pandey lead us in making aspiration and sharing the merits, please. Sadhu, sadhu.
Let's make aspiration and share our merit. So please repeat after me. Imina punyakamena.
Imina punyang kamena.
Mami bala samagamo.
Mame bala samegamo.
Satam samagamo hodu.
Satang samagamo hodu.
Yawa nibbana patiya.
Yava nibbana satya.
Idame bunyam.
Idame punyam.
Asawakaya vaha hodu.
Asavakaya vaham hodu.
Idame bunyam.
Idame punyam.
Nibbana sapajayo hodu.
Nibbanasa pachayo hodu.
Mama bunya bhagam.
Mama punyam pakam.
Sabba sadanam bhajemi.
Sapasadanam pajemi.
Isabi.
Te sabe.
Me samam.
Me samam.
Punya bhagam labandu.
Punyam pakam labandu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Pandey, and thank you everyone for your time and participation. Till we meet next week, may all be well, healthy, and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.